Oh, do I have a story for you? Hey, what's going on? I am Ron Norman and welcome to my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, I hope that you decide to subscribe right now. Like, comment, share, however you choose to view it, watch it. Thank you so much. I really, truly appreciate it. Thank you. Today, I want to talk about my New York City story. It began back in South Carolina, where I'm from. I won't go back as far as when I was born, but I'll talk about years after college. So when I was in school, I knew that I had to get out of South Carolina. I went to school in South Carolina. I was from South Carolina. I just had to explore and see what else was out there. After I graduated, I was fortunate enough to get a job in Atlanta, Georgia. I worked there for a year, and after that year's time, I knew that the job wasn't for me. They knew it wasn't for me, and I knew it wasn't for me. It was a contract position, so they decided to let me go. So for 3 months, I was looking for a job in Atlanta. I knew it was the media hub of the South, and I knew I could easily find a job within news broadcasting, get my foot in the door, and I became this media mogul. Unfortunately, it didn't happen that way. I spent those 3 months, and I did not know what I was gonna do. And also during that time, it was a great time for me to write a book. Shameless plug, my book, Brand You Reimagining Who You Are, was written during that time. And, oh, let me get a copy. Available on Amazon. All right, back to my story. So after those 3 months had gone by, I also reached out to a news station back in South Carolina where I had an internship. I then went on to the website, checked it out, found this social media coordinator position, and I figured I'm already on social media, so why not try to do it for a news station? I ended up applying for that position, had the interview, got the job, perfect. Moved back to South Carolina. After working during that time, I knew that I wanted to grow. I knew that there had to be more out there for me. One particular homecoming that I had while I was still living in South Carolina, I met a classmate's boyfriend who lived in New York. And I talked to him, he's a cool guy, and I was like, yo, I really want to move to New York someday, but I don't know if I'm able to do it because it's so expensive and all this and all that. Making excuses. I'd already been to New York. I had an internship in New York back when I was in college. I never knew if I had what it took to move to New York. So, after working at the news station, I decided to end my time there and go into higher ed. My alma mater contacted me and asked if I would come on board. And I was like, this would be a great opportunity because I don't feel like things are moving as quickly as I had hoped at the news station. So why not? Let's try something new. I ended up working at my alma mater for maybe 8 months in a role that was great. I met so many great people. I was able to have some autonomy to do my own thing, and I was able to mentor students, and I felt like I was making real change at my alma mater, which meant so much to me. But I knew there was more. After those 8 months, I ended up telling my supervisor that I have to quit. And I didn't have another job lined up. I just told them that I know that I have to take a chance on myself, but I'm going to move to New York. And after I had quit, maybe 2 weeks later, I was on a flight headed to New York City. No job. I was fortunate enough to have a place to stay. So the guy who I had met at that homecoming, who lived in New York already, was gracious enough to allow me to stay with him for 2 weeks. And I get to New York and I stayed with him. I slept on an air mattress in his living room. He had a roommate at the time, and it all worked out for the most part within those 2 weeks. It came to a turning point at the end of those 2 weeks when I needed a place to stay longer. I didn't find anywhere else to stay. Not only am I looking for a place to stay, but I'm also looking for a job. After those 2 weeks, I said, hey man, do you mind if I stay a little longer? Do you mind asking your roommate and see if it's okay? He was like, sure. So I stayed longer, still sleeping on that air mattress in their living room. And at one point, we had the guy who I had met, his girlfriend who I had gone to school with, and his roommate, and a dog. 4 of us and a dog all living in this basement apartment This was an apartment in deep Brooklyn. I don't know if you know too much about New York geography, but Brooklyn is massive. And Brooklyn, at the bottom, the deep Brooklyn, near Coney Island, this area called Sheepshead Bay, we stayed there. So it took me an hour and a half to get into Manhattan, one way. And it was one of those times where I was like, all right, I really need to focus on finding my way out. I have to find a place to stay, and I have to find a place to work. I ended up going into the city, into Manhattan one day, and I printed out several resumes. I went to restaurants, gyms, I went to catering company. I went to any place that I could meet a manager and ask if they had any available positions. I ended up landing at this bar restaurant. It's right outside of Madison Square Garden. And they basically hired me on the spot. I came back thinking that I was gonna be either a bartender or a server with no serving experience, but that's besides the point. I just knew that something was gonna pan out, that I didn't have to do any grunt work. But I was sadly mistaken. I was brought on as a bar back. Now, knowing my previous experience and all the things that I was able to accomplish in my short time outside of college, I was like, I never thought I'd be a bar back. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I was just like, this is like some heavy duty work. And I was just like, I'm not prepared. Going up and downstairs, carrying ice buckets, carrying wine bottles, beer, and all that upstairs. I didn't know how much longer I could take it, to be honest. So I ended up finding another job. I was working at the gym that I was going to, and they had a shift for me to start at 3 a.m. when the gym opened. I had the keys to the gym. I opened it up, and I worked there from 3 a.m. until noon. I also worked catering gigs in the afternoon when I didn't have to work at the restaurant. And I also went to another catering company. So at one point I had 4 gigs that I was making money from. I was exhausted. And after 3 months, I was able to make a connection at a media company here in New York. And he was in HR, and he basically told me, like, I'll pass your resume around and we'll get you in the door. You know, people may say that, and I was just like, I don't know. But you know how it may be like an empty promise that people may say, like, oh, okay, yes, I'll pass this on, but nothing actually really happens. That's what I figured this would be. I was called maybe a few days later from this media company, and I was asked to come in for an interview for a position. And I came in, and I felt like the interview went well. I felt like myself and the interviewer were gelling well. And I later heard that I did not get that position. Then I was called about another position, and I went in, thought the interview went okay, but you know, I still thought, like, of course I can do this in my sleep. Like, I had this experience, cool, I can do this. I didn't get that position either. Okay. I was contacted again for a third position, and it was a production assistant role. And I was like, all right, cool, third time's a charm, let's see what we can do. I go into that interview, and I basically went through my normal interview talking points, talking about myself and my experience and what I could add to the organization. And then I was asked, what was it that I watch and read? And I was thinking of all the articles I had read, and I was just naming them off, all of the different publications. New York Times, Washington Post, Variety, USA Today, Politico, I was just naming them all off. And then my interviewer was just basically asking, so what is the biggest story today? And I'm like, oh. And I was dumbfounded. I did not know. I did not prepare for that point. I was just like, man, what is the biggest news of the day? I couldn't think of anything. Okay, granted, this interview was at 7 a.m., all right? So it wasn't like I had woke up. I'm making excuses now. I should have looked up some articles and been well prepared, but I was just like, so in the mode of making sure that I knew the history of the show, making sure I knew the anchors of the show, and it kind of slipped my mind, honestly. I didn't think of anything in the moment. He asked, so you said that you enjoy entertainment news, so what is the biggest entertainment story? And I was struggling. I was just like, Kim Kardashian has a surrogate. He was like, we've known that for days now. And I was like, yo, I was just so taken aback. I did not know that this was gonna go this way. It went left quick. I knew that I did not get this position. I just knew it. I left and I came home back to Brooklyn and I cried my eyes out. I was just like, God, you brought me this far and I know you won't leave me, but God, I need something to come through. It felt like it was impossible. I felt like I was not gonna be able to make it. I just did not know how I was gonna be in New York and not have a good paying job, because I knew working these odd end gigs was not sustainable. And maybe a couple nights later, I was working a catering gig and I got the call that I got the position. Yes, I got the position. I was so ecstatic. I just knew that all the hard work had paid off. But that was just the beginning. I've been working with the company for 3 years now, and within those 3 years, I've been able to move out on my own, have my own studio apartment in Harlem, of course. I love Harlem, and I've welcomed a new puppy child, Regal. Say hello. Yeah, so this is my puppy child, Regal. I share my story hoping that I can encourage you. No matter where you are right now, if you have a dream, if you have a passion for something, do not let life go on without you at least trying. You have what it takes to make your dreams come true. I know it may seem that things are impossible, that you have so much in your way and real life responsibilities. I get it. Trust me, I do. But if you have the opportunity to just do something, it doesn't have to be the grand dream that you have for yourself, but it can be a step. It can be volunteer work. It can be changing your career. It could just be anything that can move you closer to your dreams. I hope that you all decide to take a chance and know that you are worthy of happiness. You don't have to work dead-end jobs just to make ends meet. It is important to sustain yourself in the meantime, but on the side, work on that side gig, work on that book, work on those opportunities, because you can turn those opportunities into a business. You can make a way for yourself. All you need is faith. Faith works when you can't see the way, when you don't know how you're going to get from point A to B, but you know you have faith and you can put the work in. So continue to put the work in, knowing that you can achieve whatever you desire. Just take a chance.